Alright everyone, it's time for today's first video, talking a little bit about what would happen if Trump decides not to actually run in 2024, what the form that may take, specifically from the Trump mindset, but also as it relates to other potential candidates. I'm thinking the Democrats would love it to be a non-incumbent election, because Biden clearly is not going to be likely running. If he does, would not likely win. Again, barring a miracle, barring an economic miracle, especially at the moment, and the magical appearance of a 100-foot tall wall on the southern border, I guess that might help, but I don't think that's going to happen. And Kamala, her likability is about the same as Joe Biden's, despite the fact that she's even more of an absentee, because the less often she appears, the more likable she appears, because literally nobody can stand her. They're just hoping that it's not a technical incumbent Trump run, because then the incumbent advantage tilts things in the Republicans' favor, especially after a midterms that, looking at the continued poll movement, I have to assume the Democrats are going to be hemorrhaging support. When you've got a +3 Republican congressional ballot, the generic ballot, that's terrible for the Dems, because usually they lead that by a few points. Typically in the midterms, the Democrats have a slight ingrained advantage because there are more registered Democrats in the country than Republicans. If the Republicans are 3 points ahead, while Biden's still falling, while their entire infrastructure bill, which is the signature legislation that Biden wants to push forth, is stalled out by their own party, what can you say about the midterms? That being said, I've said repeatedly, there's no guarantee that Trump runs. It's just very, very likely. By the way, Sebastian Gorka, he says that a Trump run is imminent and that he'll probably announce it in the coming months. That is, he won't even wait for 2022. That's possible, although even if he announces a run, as I'll get into here, it could be a different strategy, one that would be extremely funny to me. It would almost make it worth not having a Trump run, although not quite. I'm hoping he does run. I'm hoping that Trump goes Grover Cleveland and gets his second term, because finally, at that point, I can't imagine the Democrats, stubborn as they are, won't autopsy their party, figure out what's wrong. It's the id poll and the constant attacks on American civics, reform themselves, and then we'll have a second party that's kind of worth voting for. Right now, we have a de facto one-party system. We have the Republicans, and we have a bunch of fucking babies that won't take things seriously. That's basically what we've got. I realize there are third parties. I'd love to support the LP. I wish they actually were libertarians, but until that happens, I'm not going to support them either. Now, first and foremost, if you're watching this video on YouTube, keep in mind down below there will be a pinned comment with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. Keep in mind, every single day I make 2 exclusive videos. They go on those sites, but they don't go on YouTube. They used to go on Dailymotion too, but then they decided to rig ads onto literally everything that was uploaded, and I said, no thanks. I wonder how long it'll be till I fall out of the top 10 creative channels on Dailymotion. I think I'm still at number 3 despite not uploading in several months. Anyway, back on topic. Let's assume Donald Trump doesn't run. Let's assume that that's not his actual intent, or it is, but he gets stymied in it. You know, he has a health problem. He's like, well, I'm not going to make it, and he decides not to do that. I think that he'll at least pretend to run anyway, or at least constantly hype it, go to rallies, etc., hype himself up. Why? Because it protects the other Republicans while he can support them. It allows him to continue as private citizen Trump, honk honk, of course having lost in a legendary landslide in 2020, which, whatever. It didn't really happen, but okay. It gives him the ability to front as though he's running. He can raise money, divert it to Republicans that are sympathetic towards his populistic beliefs. That's number one, which means he can gobble up more support than he's already got in the legislature. And number two, attack the naughty Republicans, the ones he doesn't like Liz Cheney. He's already doing that. She's probably going bye-bye in the midterms, which is good. We need less rhinos, especially in the House, but also the Senate. It'd be nice if Mitch McConnell would get forced out. Rand Paul should take Mitch McConnell's job. The party would be twice as good then. And number three, you got to understand that Trump is a lightning rod for criticism. And on all the legacy media, they expect him to run. So if it looks like he's running, they'll attack him. Well, to the exclusion of people worrying about other Republicans. It means that the hit pieces on them are more blunted, thus giving them more air, more breathing room. Trump can literally suck up all the negativity and take it. Basically, it's like that image. You know that meme where the kid is sleeping in bed and there's like a soldier who's doing the Jesus thing, of course, and there's like arrows and bombs and shit flying at his back, and I can't remember the exact slogan underneath it. It's just sort of like that. Trump could shield the GOP effectively through the midterms, and the wipeout would be even more dire for the Democrats. At some point, the Democrats will end up having to crash and burn in order to be a serious party. I'm hoping this happens in the midterms as opposed to 24. I would love it if the Democrats got serious, pulled up their pants, cleaned and wiped their butt, stopped crying and snotting everywhere and being poopy britches little fucking babies. I would love it if they would stop being fucking idpol morons, learn how to govern, learn how to do something right, kick the communists out of their party that they've openly invited in through their own pandering year after year, always promising the left all sorts of goodies. Oh, hold your nose and vote Democrat. We'll give you some of what you want. What did they give them? Nothing. They're going to end up stripping most of it out of the infrastructure bill that might not even pass at all. If it does, it'll be so belated, people say, well, thanks for the economic help a year and a half later. The Democrats are not functioning as a political party. They are functioning more as a college fraternity. They are acting more like a beer league or something like that. The Republicans are loaded down with corrupt, sleazy windbags and T-evangelical holdovers, but they're functioning as a party because there are actually some people there, including some with prominence, like Rand Paul, etc., that know what they're doing. They are actually interested in governing. The only Democrat that fits that bill is Joe Manchin. I would say Sinema, but keep in mind, Sinema is doing it for sleazy political reasons. Her holding out is primarily to get reelected. It's good. I have no problem with the fact that she's helping block the infrastructure bill that's not even about infrastructure, but it's not out of principle. Trump is a serious Republican, and in the past, a serious Democrat. Trump is everything the Democratic Party, technically speaking, should be. A party of the working class and the middle class. A party of the United States. Hey, we're trying to improve things because we actually give a damn, as opposed to the Republican Party 20, 30 years ago mainly being about religion. The Republicans were not the serious party. The Democrats were the serious party. For a while. It's been a long time. And for a lot of that period, and during the Bush years, neither party was taking things seriously. Ashcroft wanted to cover up statues' breasts because he was afraid of getting sinful feelings, and the Democrats were walking around in a goddamn daze, not doing anything to stop what was going on because they were goddamn pussified. Now, the Democrats finally have their balls back, and instead of pushing things that make sense, okay, I know we're on the edge of a recession with massive inflation and everything. Let's spend $3.5 trillion more dollars. By the way, it won't cost anything. This makes a lot of sense. It's bad to deport people. The border should be open. Yeah, let's just let all of Haiti in. This is the Democrats' current strategy. White people bad. Masculinity bad. I mean, there are some Democrats that literally say things like this. It's not a joke. And they've been allowed into the party by people that know better. I mean, do you think that Pelosi and Schumer and all these others believe the idpol shit? No. They've been using it perennially as a campaign issue, and they forget about it the day after the campaigning is over. Unfortunately, what they've bred is the Justice Dems astroturfed far leftoids that actually believe it in many cases. Or at least the people backing them do and use them as pawns. They actually believe white male bad, get into your chastity belt, eat the bugs, and live in the pod. They want a communist society. Trump will either run in 2024, and it'll be a serious campaign that he intends to win. I will vote for him if he does. That is a virtual guarantee. Unless, if Rand runs, I default to really wanting Rand. If Trump runs, though, with the incumbency, I'd like to see him take on Rand Paul as a VP candidate. Oh boy, wouldn't that be a winning ticket. That would get me actually 10 times more excited, especially since Trump would be Biden's age, and we might get a President Rand Paul, who then can run again with the incumbent advantage and potentially get 2.5 terms out of it, because of course only the full term counts. That being said, either he does that or he sits it out, but he will still be very visible. He'd be a kingmaker, which means his endorsement means everything. Everyone would be sucking Trump's cock to get his endorsement. Rand, I think, and DeSantis, technical front runners at that point. Ted might try to run. He supported Trump a lot, but I don't see Ted Cruz as principled, and I don't know that even with Trump's endorsement I could particularly support him. He's got weird beliefs. He's a cringy man. He's not nearly as good as Trump, Rand, DeSantis at speaking, I believe. I wouldn't really be receptive. And then you'd see some neocons try to run, but they wouldn't get Trump's endorsement probably unless they gave him a huge kickback. But when you're Trump, you've got lifelong immunity from anything criminal because you've been a former president. They're not going to prosecute him, by the way. The idea is ludicrous. You have billions of dollars. To the point where you're the leftoids to attack you. Oh, he fell off the Fortune 500 list for the first time in 20 years. I'm sure he's really, really sad about having fewer billions of dollars than more than 500 other people in the entire world. He's very, very sad about this. It makes him a loser, and he's aware of it. He's pooping and crying and all this other hyperbolic bullshit. Anyway, either that, or he'll take fire for all of his political allies. He'll beat up on the rhino cons. There'll be more populists in there. And by the way, the structure of government will have fundamentally improved because there will be more populists and liberty lovers there and less rhinos, and the Democrats probably will be swept aside. I think that's a strong position even without Trump running. He'll have done his part. He'll have had a massive impact on the political history of the U.S. 3 Supreme Court justices, a sweeping overhaul of the regulatory system that only now is half repealed because Biden is quietly restoring them. By the way, he never comes out and campaigns on, hey man, I'm restoring all the regulations that evil orange man got rid of. He never does that, does he? Scott Adams pointed that out many months ago. It's very interesting. I thought Orange Man bad, so re-regulation should be a good thing. It should be a platform for the midterms for the Democratic Party, because it's what they're doing. And then, of course, as private citizen Trump, Hong Kong, has had a huge impact on the Republican Party. He's going to oust Liz Cheney. That's almost certain. He's endangering the capability of McConnell and people like him to lead. And then you have the Rand types and the DeSantis types, at the state level mainly, that are rising up within the ranks. A younger, more youthful Republican movement is now growing, and it's taking over the party. Part of it's also Bannon's people. Taking over precincts, taking over local GOP functions. Keep it up. It'd be great if the GOP could be overhauled, crush the Democrats are forced to overhaul, and then all of the commies get swept out of the party and they go back to like a party of JFK thing. I would love having two reasonably competent political parties to choose from because I don't always agree with all the shit that comes from the Republicans because I'm not a conservative. I'd love it. Right now, though, you have a semi-competent Republican Party. Certain people in it are competent, Trump, Rand, etc., DeSantis. Some aren't, like Liz Cheney or the John McCain types. And then you have a Democratic Party that's so dysfunctional that it no longer resembles a political movement. It resembles a Facebook group. It's just as dysfunctional, with just as much bullshit being said and being done, and just as much behind-the-doors DM-based intrigue as a Facebook group. For cliquey teenagers. They're like the rich kids of Instagram. That's basically what it's like. That's about all. Peace out.